1945. The war that consumed the world has ended. Cities lie in ashes. Empires have fallen. From Berlin to Hiroshima, humanity is exhausted. But as peace settles over the ruins, another struggle quietly begins. One that will not be fought with armies, but with secrets. The Cold War is about to be born. And with it, so is the most powerful intelligence agency in the world. The Central Intelligence Agency. In the summer of 1945, the Red Army occupies half of Europe. Stalin's forces have swept west, planting Soviet influence from Poland to the Balkans. The United States watches uneasily as the Iron Curtain begins to descend. During the war, America's first experiment with organized espionage. The Office of Strategic Services, or OSS, had played a brave but improvised role. They parachuted behind enemy lines, smuggled resistance fighters, and sabotaged Nazi factories. But they were amateurs compared to the veteran spies of Britain and the Soviet Union. When President Harry S. Truman inherits the White House after Franklin Roosevelt's death, he views the OSS as a relic of wartime chaos. In October 1945, he shuts it down. He believes America should return in normalcy. Yet the world refuses to cooperate. Within months, tensions with Moscow sharpen. Communist movements surge across Europe, and a new weapon, the atomic bomb, has made secrecy a matter of survival. Truman begins to realize, to win this new kind of war, the United States needs eyes and ears everywhere. Out of quiet meetings inside the National Security Council, a radical idea takes form. A permanent pistime intelligence service. In 1947, the National Security Act is signed. With a stroke of Truman's pen, the Central Intelligence Agency is born. Its mission statement is short and dangerously vague. To perform such other functions and duties related to intelligence as the National Security Council may direct, those words hide immense power. They allow the CIA to gather information, influence foreign governments, and conduct covert operations, all in silence, far from public oversight. The agency's early recruits are a strange mix. Soldiers, scholars, Wall Street lawyers, even journalists. They operate out of a few borrowed offices in Washington, building a secret world from scratch. But running secret missions costs money, a lot of it. And the CIA cannot simply ask Congress for a line item called global manipulation. So, they find another way. Postwar Europe is in ruins. Factories are silent. Cities starve. Communist parties, backed by Moscow, gain strength in Italy, France, and Greece. To stop them, Truman unveils the Truman Doctrine, a promise to support any nation resisting communist control. Soon after, Secretary of State George Marshall proposes something even bigger, a vast economic recovery effort known as the Marshall Plan. Between 1948 and 1952, over $13 billion flow to rebuild Europe, the equivalent of $150 billion today. Officially, this money buys food, fuel, and machinery. Unofficially, about 5%, nearly $700 million, is quietly diverted to fund the CIA's covert projects. Through this secret budget, the agency begins shaping the political future of Europe. It funds friendly unions to weaken communist influence. It supports pro-Western newspapers and political parties. It even backs artists and writers whose work promotes freedom over ideology. In the public eye, it looks like cultural renaissance. In reality, it's psychological warfare, a battle for the minds of millions. But the young agency quickly learns that shadow wars rarely go as planned. Soviet intelligence, the KGB, is ruthless and everywhere. They have infiltrated resistance movements, stolen codebooks, and turned double agents inside Western networks. In one operation, the CIA trains Ukrainian fighters to resist Soviet rule. They are dropped behind enemy lines under cover of night. But Moscow already knows their landing zones. Within days, every man is captured or killed. The agency's internal report is blunt. We were penetrated from the beginning. These early disasters shake confidence in Washington. Is America's new spy service already doomed? By the early 1950s, CIA Director Walter Bedell Smith, the stern Army general, realizes the agency needs a win, something bold, something to justify its growing budget and silence its critics. That opportunity arrives in an unlikely place, Iran. Iran in 1953 is a proud democracy led by Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, a nationalist determined to free his country from foreign control. He nationalizes the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, cutting Britain out of a fortune. To London, it is economic war. To Washington, it is an opportunity. Fearing Iran might drift toward the Soviet camp, the CIA plans its first major covert intervention, Operation Ajax. The man in charge is Kermit Roosevelt Jr., grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt, disguised and armed with over $1 million in secret funds. He slips into Tehran and begins his campaign. He bribes newspapers to turn public opinion. He pays politicians and religious leaders to denounce Mossadegh. He funds demonstrations that erupt into chaos in the streets. The plan works. Amid the turmoil, the army moves in. On August 19, 1953, tanks roll through Tehran. Mossadegh is arrested, and the Shah returns to power. In Langley, Virginia, the operation is hailed as a triumph. A government toppled, Western oil secured, all achieved without a single American soldier in uniform. The CIA has proven its power, but it has also crossed a line. For the United States, Operation Ajax becomes the blueprint for the next 2 decades, a model of how covert force can shape history. For Iran, it becomes the root of decades of resentment. The coup that restored the Shah also destroyed a democracy. It set the stage for oppression, revolution, and the bitter hostility that would return to haunt both nations a generation later. But in 1953, no one in Washington sees that far ahead. All they see is victory and validation. The CIA has stepped out of the shadows. Its budget will grow. Its influence will spread across continents. And its next missions will be even bolder. Because in the new age of the Cold War, the world itself has become a battlefield of secrets. The Cold War wasn't just fought with bombs, it was fought with secrets. Discover how the CIA rose from the ashes of World War II to shape the modern world. This is the untold story of power, deception, and control. Watch now and step into the shadows.